My Story is presented to you by Good Neighbor Pharmacy and Island Cancer Center. With special thanks to the Pacific Star Resort and Spa, Tresemme, distributed by Cosmos, Local Promos, LabTech, Tobacco Free Guam, and Simply Food.
Hafa-day and welcome to another episode of My Story. I am Louise Muña. Every month, two cancer warriors, survivors, or families of those who lost their battle share their brave stories in an effort to bring cancer and cancer prevention to the forefront. In this episode, the wife of the late Joaquin Casey Concepcion will share with us his battle with cancer and how she says medicinal marijuana helped him during his cancer treatment. During the island's past election, the people voted to legalize the use of marijuana for medical purposes. The law, named after Casey, is the Joaquin Concepcion Compassionate Cannabis Use Act. We will also sit with Grassroots Guam, Andrea Pelicani. Grassroots Guam is an organization that looks to educate and promote the responsible use of medical marijuana on Guam. So make yourself comfortable and prepare for another touching and informative episode of My Story. Welcome back to My Story. I'm Louise Muña. In the past episodes of this show, we've highlighted the stories of those battling cancer as well as survivors. In this episode, we will talk with Emily, the wife of the late Joaquin Concepcion II. She will tell us his story leading up to his passing. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm okay.
You're okay. Now, well, let's talk about, we said Joaquin Concepcion II, but, you know, I think everybody knows him as, what do they call him?
People know him as Savage K. Other friends know him as Casey, as well as his childhood friends know him as Ken. So
really,
he has
many different names,
many
right?
names.
What did you call him?
I called him Casey.
You called him Casey. So would you like to refer to him as Casey?
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Now, in this episode, we're featuring a spouse of, because you know we've talked to survivors before, but we want to get the feeling of what you went through as well too, and the entire family. So, how long were you married? When were you married to Casey?
We were married in July of 2009.
2009.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, what was life like? I mean, you have kids?
Yes, we do. We have two kids.
Two kids, boy and a girl.
Yes.
And how old are they?
Kino, he is 13 now, and then my daughter Ziani, she's 8.
She's 8. Mm-hmm. Wow, still very young.
Yes, very young kids.
So when I want to go back to when before Casey was diagnosed with cancer, were there some signs that he was showing that made him go get checked?
Yeah, up until maybe a month before he went to started feeling signs such as shoulder pains, and he didn't go into the hospital immediately after because it was typical heartburn symptoms, hiccups. Yes, hiccups, heartburns, your day-to-day, everyday.
Mm-hmm. Things that people experience all the time, right? So he wasn't concerned?
No, he wasn't too concerned about it. It would go away.
So, I mean, is that where it started, shoulder?
Yeah,
heartburn?
It wasn't until his shoulder pain became severe.
Severe?
Yeah,
wow.
Because his right shoulder would experience excruciating pain. So that's what made us take him to the ER.
So he wasn't even physically functional because of that shoulder pain?
He wasn't able to do things he did the night before because his pain would be on and off. Not maybe like a week before, not too long before.
You went to the ER?
Yeah.
And of course, that's here on Guam, right?
Yeah, that's here on Guam.
Now, when he went into the hospital, did they say, I just have shoulder pain? Was there like something that the doctors or the nurses there were focusing on, a certain area in his body, or?
They actually just asked him what he was experiencing, and then from there he got a CAT scan done. And it turns out he had tumors in his liver.
In his liver?
Yes.
Is that where his cancer began?
No, it wasn't. At first, we believed that
Started in
Started
his
in the liver because of the CAT scan, you know, and we weren't too sure how far along he was either. But all the doctor told us was there are numerous tumors in his liver.
Wow, numerous.
Numerous. He had quite a few. So the assumption was he had liver cancer.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't liver cancer. With tumors in your liver, apparently you have a nerve that goes up to your shoulder. So that's how they were able to link it to the liver as well as the CAT scan.
Did when they did the CAT scan, though, did they find the cancer anywhere else other than the liver? Any other tumors?
No, they focused on the liver. It wasn't until he had a colonoscopy and an endoscopy.
Okay. How old was he when he was diagnosed?
Casey was 32.
32. Was it? Do you think it could have been? I mean, his developing cancer. Do you think it could have been anything that he was doing in his lifestyle prior to being diagnosed, or?
Casey wasn't the healthiest person, just like how I'm not the healthiest person.
Right.
There's many
no one
people
really
who,
is,
no
right?
one really
Especially
is.
when you're that young, you just think
Yeah.
that, you know,
So
I'm
it's kind of hard to think what he did or what he didn't do or what
To pinpoint
caused it.
anything,
It's hard
right?
to pinpoint it. Numerous research shows that there's so many reasons why a person can develop cancer, and stomach cancer especially. I mean,
What did Casey do? What was his job?
Casey used to work at KOM.
Okay.
He was a master control operator.
Okay.
He produced music as well.
He's in a band.
He was in a band at the time. Yes, he was. He was in a band. He also recorded local artists here in Guam. He did a lot of things. He played at local nightclubs. He played at restaurants, dinner shows. He did a lot of things.
And what did you do?
I was a stay-at-home mom.
Really?
Yeah, I had
Oh,
to
how
stay
fun.
home and watch the kids. You
That's
know.
a full-time job.
It is a full-time job, but it was Casey's preference as well. You know, but at the time he was diagnosed, I was actually going to school.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I was going through school. The
College?
semester, yes, at UOG. The semester was just about to end, and then everything just happened. So,
What year was he diagnosed?
2011.
11. And the kids were still
Very young,
then.
yes,
Your
very
daughter
young.
was what, 4?
Yeah, about.
And the boy was not even 10 yet, right?
No.
Wow. So when he was diagnosed, what did you guys do? Did the doctor have the both of you in the room when they told him that he had cancer?
Yeah, yes, they did.
Okay, and what was his reaction?
His reaction, you know, he was like, okay.
Really?
His reaction was like, okay, I have cancer.
Wow.
And that was it. You know, they gave us everything, all the information that they wanted to give us, and he said,
So
okay.
he was ready to fight it then?
He was ready to fight it as well as ready to.
Did you sense any fear in him though when he said okay? Or?
Every once in a while, yes, but he was so positive about everything. He wanted to do his own research.
Okay.
He wanted to look into it more. He didn't want it to scare him or you know, make him.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power, and with Casey, he loved to research.
Really good.
Yeah.
And what was your feeling? I mean, from your own personal feeling when you found out he had cancer.
I was scared. You know, we cried. I cried a lot, and it was Casey that kind of.
He had the strength.
He had the strength, and you know, made me realize that it's okay to cry, but at the same time, we have to fight. You know.
Right. And he was a fighter.
He was a fighter.
He had a saying, didn't he, Casey?
Casey, yeah, he had many sayings, but one of his most popular ones was "Live life alive."
I remember that.
Yeah.
Live life alive, and not just for he also portrayed that through his music as well
Yes,
too, right?
through his music, through everything, his everyday life.
Was that his therapy?
Music.
To do music?
Music has always been Casey's therapy,
Really?
and when he was diagnosed, it was much more of a drive for him to do it. And this time, he was writing more about his experience with cancer, so he was able to kind of take in this new life, this new everything he's experiencing, everything
Right.
that's so
A new
new
journey.
to him, a new journey, a new everything, and put it into music. And
The
so-
kids were very young.
They were.
They probably didn't understand.
No, they
No?
didn't understand. My daughter, she she handled it the way any typical little girl would handle
Right.
it. And you know, he's
Daddy's
older.
sick.
Yeah,
and that's
he's
as far as she
older,
knew.
so he kind of understood more of everything that was going on. So
When you found out, when you both found out, did he stay here on Guam for treatment, or
he did.
was
He
there a
went-
plan?
He did. We met with his oncologist here in Guam, and he went through 3 rounds of chemo here in Guam, and then we relocated to the States.
Wow, the whole family, the 2 kids
No, just me, him, and my daughter, and then our son met up with us later on.
later. So you stopped your entire life, uprooted the entire
Uprooted,
family.
yes.
Is there a reason why you did that there instead of here? Was the treatments better, or was it?
We just felt like we had more of an option in the States. He had one option here, and in the States we felt maybe he had more, and he did have more.
So where did you guys go to first?
We went to Alabama. We stayed in Alabama with family for about 2 weeks.
So you had family there.
Yeah, we had family there, and we also researched the cancer institutes around there, and then we eventually ended up in Washington State.
Washington State. Wow. Family? You have family there too as well?
We have
You
family,
do?
lots of friends in Washington.
So what was his treatments like? What did he have to do? Did he have to go through chemo, radiation?
With Casey, radiation wasn't an option for him, so he just did chemotherapy. He did it through infusion, and then he also did the pills, the chemotherapy pills. So he did 2 different types of chemo.
What stage when he was diagnosed, did they say what stage of cancer he was
Yeah,
in?
he was in the later stage. He was in stage 4,
Stage 4. Final stage?
final stage.
That was the final stage, stage 4. So it must have been growing inside him for quite a while
For
before
quite a while.
he found out. He had to go through, I mean, did you see how he managed all that chemo? I mean, what was his demeanor like? I mean, did you see how it was affecting him, the chemo?
Yes, I saw it before. I saw the way it affected him before, during, and after. Before he'd go in and he's ready, and then during chemo he just sleeps. He's tired. He just sleeps throughout the whole thing. You're talking hours
Sleeping?
of chemo.
Oh, wow.
Hours of chemo, and you know it varies depending on the type of chemo. Sometimes it's 6 hours, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's twice a week, sometimes it's once every
Wow.
2 weeks.
It's pretty extensive.
It is.
In Washington State, medicinal marijuana is legal, right?
Yes, it is.
So did he take medicinal marijuana? Did he approach the doctors? I mean, how did he?
He did bring it up to his oncologist, and you know it was always his preference what he wanted to do. So anything he decided to do, he did run by his doctor, and it turns out he decided to just go ahead and look into medical marijuana some more, and he did his research, and then eventually he was able to obtain a patient's card to.
How did that affect him? How did it affect his treatments? Did it help him cope?
It helped him cope. I noticed that afterwards he's a little happier, and with treatment you have to take into consideration all the side effects from chemotherapy alone, and then he has symptoms as well. So at the same time he's trying to balance his symptoms, his side effects, everything that comes along with cancer. And for a 32-year-old, you know, he shouldn't be experiencing any of that, not at his age. So with medical cannabis, he was happier. He ate more. Side effects of chemotherapy is loss of appetite.
Right.
Side effects of gastric cancer, because that's what Casey had. He had stomach cancer.
Stomach cancer.
Yeah, so side effects is loss of appetite as well. So you have loss of appetite because of the cancer, you have loss of appetite because of chemotherapy. So with cannabis, he was able to gain an appetite back to start eating, because he also suffered from weight loss, severe
lot of
weight
weight loss.
Yes.
Wow. So how long was this process from the time you moved out to Washington State to did he pass away in Washington?
Yes, he did.
He did. How long was that process?
We were out there, I want to say, for almost 2 years.
2 years.
Yes.
And how did the kids take that? I mean, when he passed away?
They didn't take it too well. They're kids, you know, they're supposed to have their dad.
Right.
Yeah, they're supposed to have their dad. So,
You still miss him?
yeah,
Yeah. How long has it been?
it's been 2 years.
2 years?
Hmm.
Think about him all the time?
All the time, yes.
Yeah. So when you came back, you're making me tear. When you came back, you went out and you advocated for the medicinal marijuana,
Yeah.
for the decriminalization.
Yes,
I mean, you saw firsthand what that was like and how it affected his life and how it helped him to cope with what he had to go through.
right.
That's the reason why you went out and said, yes, let's do this. Let's try to get this done here on Guam, because it really does make everyday life a little bit more bearable.
Yes, if you were to ask me about cannabis 5 years ago, 4 years ago, I wouldn't object to it being an option for patients, but I wouldn't support it the way I do now, because I saw it firsthand. I saw the way it helped Casey, and that's why I pushed for it, because I know he wanted it for the people of Guam as well. He was very, very vocal about it. He was able to obtain this medicine for himself in Washington, and at the same time he was worried about the people in Guam not being able to have this for themselves.
Because he knew, right?
He knew, and so even in Washington, he was really, really pushing for Guam to get this done for our people, for the people here.
Do you still feel him wanting to do that?
Yes,
to make
I
that
do.
happen?
I do.
But as a spouse, and how old are you?
I'm 30.
30. You're a very young widow. For us as a spouse, and seeing Casey go through that whole thing, is there any kind of advice that you have for families out there that are experiencing the same that you did with Casey?
Yeah, I would just say, no matter your age, if you have your parents, embrace them, listen to them, because you can always use advice, you can always use support. You can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. If it's your husband, like in my case, we couldn't do it alone. There's no way we could have done it alone.
So you had a big support group.
We had a huge support group. We had our families, we had friends, and we had everybody on Guam, because the support was overwhelming.
Reach out to them.
Reach out to them, embrace them. If they want to help, let them help. Let people help you. Get checked up if you feel something's wrong. If you don't feel something's wrong, get checked up anyway. Just
and live life alive.
Live life alive. Don't do it for you. Do it for, if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for people you love, people that love you.
Especially the kids.
People that care about you, especially your kids.
Thank you, Emily, for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Live life alive.
We'll never give up, never stay down, stand back up, put your feet on the ground. We all know we must fight to survive, so live life alive, it's alright.
Welcome back to My Story. Before the break, we spoke with Emily Conception, and she shared with us her story about her husband, Joaquin Casey Conception. She shared with us how medicinal marijuana helped him during his intense cancer treatment. Right now, I sit with Andrea Pelicani on Grassroots Guam. Andrea, half a day?
Half a day. How are you, Louise?
Good, good. Now, Grassroots Guam, that's a good play on words, actually. What is the mission of Grassroots Guam?
We are an organization, and our mission is to get outreach to patients. We have some time before the program goes into effect next year. We want to make sure that patients have the right information. We promote safe access and responsible use of medicinal marijuana.
Medicinal marijuana. Now, in your Facebook page, you refer to marijuana as cannabis. Is there a reason why?
Right. If you look at the history of the prohibition of cannabis, marijuana was a term given to kind of skew the perception of it and who's using it, and kind of make it a really bad thing. So we prefer to stay away from that term and use the proper term, which is cannabis.
So you're changing the look and sound of what people think marijuana is.
Correct.
So let's rewind back. Medicinal marijuana. What is the effects of medicinal marijuana to a cancer patient?
Well, going to when you look it up and you talk about the science of it, it's a little bit behind because of the restrictions placed on studies by the government. But we've seen firsthand, and you could just Google it. It helps cancer patients eat. It helps them with their nausea. It helps them with pain. And preclinical studies also show that cannabis can contribute to apoptosis, which is cancer cell sort of suicide. So it tells cancer cells to die without harming your good cells. And this was just made available on a federal government website that we posted on our Facebook page. You can read
I was
that.
going to say, on your Facebook page is very informative. There's a lot of different stories. So where do you get those stories from?
We subscribe to a lot of news services, and also we've traveled to meet and network with people in the industry, from diagnostics to cultivators and just your farmers and dispensary owners, and so they've been very helpful to us.
Okay. How does a cancer patient take medicinal marijuana? I mean, do they just, I mean, the traditional way, right, to roll it, smoke it, right? Is that
Right.
what they do?
They're depending on what type of cancer you have, would determine. A lot of times edibles don't work if you're in the nausea stage, but that's one way to take it. And there's also
Edibles meaning like they,
you could cook, make butter or oil, and you could make cookies or cake or pastries or even pasta if you like. It's gotten pretty fancy past the brownie, Louise.
Oh, okay.
You can make pasta with, cannabis oil and.
So in Emily's case, she said that it really helped Casey eat more, sleep better, which helps his cells, healthy cells continue to strive. Other than that, what other effects that could it help?
Well, there are different types of strains, and there are hundreds of compounds in
Strain
cannabis.
as in like a strainer?
Different, like Meyer lemons would be to calamansi. They're both lemons, but they're different kinds.
Oh, interesting.
And there's hundreds of compounds in cannabis, and they have different effects for different people on the body. CBD is a very big emerging compound in cannabis, which is actually non-psychoactive. So you wouldn't even get high taking a high CBD strain.
It would just go direct to where it needs to go.
Right, it's non-psychoactive.
So when a doctor prescribes medicinal marijuana, he'll say, okay, you have this condition, we're going to prescribe you this strain. Would that be how it would be prescribed?
No, actually, it's more like you have a condition that qualifies you for the program, so you would go and get registered. But really, it's herbal therapy. I mean, we call it medicinal because that's what, that's what everybody's calling it. But we prefer, as an organization, to call it therapy. It's cannabis therapy because patients go in, they try different things that work for them. There's something that they can take during the day, and there's something that they can take at night. So, and that would be different for each patient.
Again, there's a lot of articles
Right.
on the Facebook page. So if people wanted to find out more, is Facebook the only way they can find you?
Right now it is, and you can email us through there as well.
Speak to you directly?
Yeah, call me or
Message.
email me. That's fine.
Okay.
We're still working on getting all our website
ways.
up,
Okay.
and we're hoping to do a blog. So we're collecting some writers. So anybody writing, interested in contributing, we're definitely looking for some writers.
Thank you for sharing your organization, because what it's doing now is it's expanding the profile of cannabis user. Now it becomes therapy and not just for recreational use. And I think it'll help people understand, for people like Emily and Casey, for their sake. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
We will now take a look into what the Department of Public Health is doing to implement the program. With that, here's Tim McHenry from the Pacific News Center with more on that.
We've heard from one side of the medical marijuana initiative. Next up, the administrative side. And for that, we talked to Public Health Administrator Rosanna Robigo, and she explains the process that her side will go through to get to the final product.
During this process, the director kind of tapped on the Division of Environmental Health to take the lead in developing the proposed rules and regulations. It was no easy feat. We were also advised that the department wanted us to kind of focus and really look to Arizona as a model for developing our Guam's rules and regulations. In doing so, we identified many gaps. I mean, regulation process is never an easy thing.
Rabago says these gaps led them to look at other states for a more in-depth look at medical marijuana programs in the mainland. Rabago says after that, they held meetings with different business sectors to get their input on the rules and regs. This included law enforcement officials, representatives from GovGuam, specifically the Department of Administration, representatives from the banking industry, and health insurance companies as well. Based on these meetings, Rabago says public health made more revisions to the rules and regs even before the next step, which are the public hearings.
In July, we had 3 public hearings. And of course, part of the requirement for that is that 10 days prior to the public hearing, you had to post an advertisement, a public notice to the general public.
This brings us to the current status.
So through the public hearing process, we had at least a total of about 80 plus individuals who came to our public hearing throughout those 3 days. 25 people actually presented some type of oral testimony, but not all testimonies were submitted in writing.
Right now, Rabago says they're packaging all the public testimony in order to send the final product to the AG's office. Here's the breakdown as explained by Rabago.
So it's public health,
Attorney
AG,
General, yeah. Public health.
governor's office, back to public health, and then onward to the legislative secretary.
For PNC News, I'm Tim McHenry.
If you want to watch this show again, you can catch it tomorrow right here on this Sorensen Media Group TV station, or log on to SorensenMediaGroup.com. If you or someone you know would like to share their story on this show, please email share@spbguam.com. Until next time, adios.